Hi, I'm Min from PonderEd Education. Please call me Min since my first name seems to be bring some confusions. Many people hear it in different way. Now, my new website at PonderEd.ca has been up and running. The website address is right here, but you can ignore the uppercases that I just put it in because my logo is like that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna upload the lectures now. It's more likely systemized now, and then it's just you can do step by step the study with my new methodology that I have developed. With this development that you will, if you are students, then you will learn to how to increase your knowledge together with thinking skills, and then how to set up the projects, and basically like what you do for your what you are doing now and what you will do in the future, like project, setting up the project, how to running it, and everything is in there. And the other education that I have, I'm gonna put up is wisdom building method. Actually, to build the wisdom. This also, these two different parts is I separated, but wisdom part is requires that the thought process based learning. Thought process based learning is the one that I made the term, that methodology. I named my methodology in that way. So these methodologies are solely developed by me for several years, and then I have been putting a lot of time and the trial and errors and organizing all data and make up this method. So it took me several years. Now, because of that, I'm not going to make these lectures and materials for free. But that doesn't mean that you can watch and read for free. What I'm going to do is, what I put is that I put in, since I'm living in Canada, I put as a Canadian dollars $2.50 for each lecture or articles or just some tips and those kind of things, which I'm loading to the website. Still, you can access for free, but if you really are studying with it, if you are advancing with this methodology step by step with that I'm giving you, providing you through this website, if you value that, then you can count not just every single time. If you watch this video $2.50, and then if you pay with a credit card getting the company getting richer and richer, not really me. But so what I'm suggesting is that accumulating like about 10 or 20 lectures, and you pay just once with the accumulated one, and then later on, so on and so on, as you advance with this methodology. And this is different from actual the classes that I'm learning. I have to get involved in developing developing those methodology with to specifically apply to the students, or something like a consultation is doing work like that. Workshop is the one that I provide the information that I developed now, but the consultation is the main goal of the consultation is if the either educational system or individuals that if you wanted to build something, for example, I basically what I did with this is the development is mainly done in the scientific topics. And now I'm gonna go to Montreal this summer to give a talk, and then that topic I'm gonna make up as a mathematics, because that topic is mathematics. So basically, this methodology, you can add any topics in it so that you can study with it. So if I have to work to develop that according to your requirement, then that's gonna cost a lot more than this. But since if you're studying through the website and the YouTube with these lecture materials, then this is what I think is most reasonable. But still, if you're having some financial issues or something, you can pay less. Okay? But what I think is that if you are thinking that tonight I want to have I want to have dine out. So you, for example, you want to have dinners out. Then that means that you choose dinner over study. In that case, you probably don't want to pay me. So that's fine by me. I mean, you're watching it, but still you value your time to enjoy your hobby or dining out or those kind of things. That's fine. But the main point is that you're not going to get anything out of these videos even though you're watching over and over and over, because your brain is on that side, not on this side. Because these thought processes, basically brain power, can be developed when you're judging which one is more valuable, developing your brain or dining out. Okay, so now that's one of the points that I was gonna make. So it's basically it's not free, but it is free. It's voluntarily. I'm asking for voluntary payment for these lecture materials and all the educational material, learning materials. Okay, now let me go into starting from these lectures. From next lecture, that I'm gonna give you the background of the information, and then after that, I'm gonna go straightly to the methodology that you can use. But the main topic is science. Science is the one of the main topic, and if you want something different, and if you're adding your own, you're starting with following my lectures with different topics. If it doesn't work, then you can contact me. But as I said, in that case, that you have to pay more, and because I have to develop with you with the strategies and the methodology. And from the website, that the payment will be section will be named as either lecture fees or pay for the lecturer or something like that. So you can find it later on. It's not there yet. If you are sending the checks, then you don't have to worry about the credit card, the fees for that. Well, that's my side, and then also your side as well. You pay $250, but the payment is actually what I'm getting is less than. Okay, now today what I'm gonna do is from this lecture. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over all these the thought process based learning and wisdom building method. Now, thought process based education, I'll just abbreviate in here instead of writing in the whole thing. And the wisdom building method, I have two different methodology parts. And the first one, thought process based learning education, is divided into 4 different subsections. Thought process based education is divided into 4 different levels. So part 1 is a thought process based education, and each level has different strategy. The first level, level 1, is building knowledge, concept. Building concepts is different from the learning concepts. You have to clearly understand. And I'm going to introduce you the exact differences from the further coming up lectures. That building concepts is you're the one who started increasing the knowledge. That means you are using your brain, your power of thinking. But understanding is different. Understanding is, for example, let's say when I drop this and saying this is gravity, and then you go, well, yeah, I understand gravity, yes. But as soon as you understand, you learn, you get the knowledge, and you understood, but problem is that your brain stops thinking right there. Because you understood. You know. It is, yes, it is the gravity. So what? This is one of the reasons that the writing is difficult. Generally, most of the education, from my viewpoint, is about 80% or more, is focused on delivering the knowledge. Problem is, yes, students know, understand. I know, I understand, yes, so, and when they are trying to utilize it in the writing, then what would happen? That's simple. You can think of it in this way. Let's say the water, the concept is 4. Odorless, tasteless, odorless, tasteless, and colorless, and shapeless. And then there's no shape, no color, no smell, and blah, blah, blah. Let's say you learned these 4 concepts from the school. And there are like about 20, 30 students in there. Now, you were asked to write some essay about the water. Then, if you're a student, then what would happen? You will shuffle these concepts and write it. But problem is, if you have like 4 different concepts, there are 20 more students, the shuffling, even though you shuffle a lot, there will be similar ones coming up. This is why that in the university that I teach, there's a system, Turnitin, called the Turnitin, which searches the similarity. And the student hits like sometimes 30, 40, sometimes even 90% or more. Not my student though. Yeah, I specifically teach different ways, so my student doesn't really have that issues. Now, the problem is that when I ask students that why the similarity shows up like this, and then they said, I swear I wrote it by myself. Yeah, so I ask them, okay, then reproduce it. They do. Some of them, they actually can reproduce it. The reason that these things are happening is because students know the knowledge, they have the knowledge, but the problem is when they are shuffling, because in the university level they use a similar textbook, and then if you look at 3 different textbooks, contents are mostly similar. And then it is already written by scientists or whoever it is, authors. So it is, knowledge is out there. Students learn as much knowledge as they could, and in entire world there are millions of students, and entire worlds there will graduate. That means knowledge they already utilize, they reuse them, it'll fall into the same category most of the time. This is why that the similarity is a really big issue. But it tells me 2 things. One, lack of the thinking processes, thought processes, and second, lack of knowledge. So to get out of this situation, you have to delve yourself inside of the knowledge, and just like people doing in Harvard, or I heard that the Chicago University students are doing it, like burying themselves in the library, like with the stacks of the books. Well, the Chicago University is one of my colleagues told me that they even have a cafeteria inside of the library so that they don't have to walk out. Anyway, so building knowledge is totally different. So I'm gonna give you some specific the methodology when time comes, when actually doing it. So this is the one that you're building by yourself, increasing knowledge by yourself, so that you can actually utilize it. Second, oh no, not the second. First part has second section that doing it. Concept, connecting concepts. Connecting concepts. So if you watched previous my lectures which I'm gonna take them out because I thought that now it's more systematically it's going up. I don't think that the old one is really required, so I'm gonna bring them down from the YouTube. But anyway, connecting concept is one of the way of genius thinking. That means, for example, Newton. Isaac Newton made a satellite concept based on connecting gravity, force of gravity, and force of the throwing. So what happens if you throw or if you shoot out rocket or whatever that that has enough power to circle the Earth? It'll come back to my back. There's like a satellite concept. And most recently, Steve Jobs, who I personally think as a genius, that made a typography and computer, merging them together, connecting them together. This word was actually used by Steve Jobs, 2005 Stanford University graduate speech, I think. You can search for it. So what he said, connecting dots. So by connecting dots, you can create new concepts. Satellite is new concept. After that, all these, the satellite we could see from here because of the Newton. Now, connecting concept is one of the way of geniuses started thinking processes, and once you go through with it, then you can develop the new concept, just like what geniuses did. So this is this part. Now, second level, what I'm gonna do, the methods that I'm gonna provide is project development. Methods to develop a project, or this has to be, but project development you don't want to confuse with something that right now that what current the school ongoing. In the current school, what the teachers or professors do is, hey, students, go out there and do the research about salmon. Yeah, it looks like yes, it is a project. You could do the research out of it, but actually it's not. What you can do, you punch the salmon and then you gather the information, and basically what you do is you just information search and utilize them, putting into words and then putting out there, and that's, you call it research in general. Well, that's what people calling out there research. But this is not the research I'm talking about. And if they do, then they collect the information here and there. Because of the knowledge is already there, their writing will fall into the plagiarism issues, similarity issues. So project development here that I talk about is based on connecting concepts. Connecting concept, at this time you are just widening your concepts in the level 1. But here you're actually utilizing and connecting concepts and make up the questions. For example, let's say, why rain falls? What force makes rain falling down from the sky? What makes rain formed from the cloud? Something like that. Cloud, rain, two different concepts, and in between you ask why. Reasoning. You've been asking these questions before, probably, yes, right? Some students telling me the story that saying one of the students says that he has been wondering for like about when more than 10 years when he was a kid. He was thinking why the monkeys cannot evolve just like a human. And then he said that question had been all the way until he meets me. So in the class that we discussed, and then I actually showed him the reasons why the monkey couldn't advance to evolve into human. There are two different sets, but that's a different story. Now, so why? Question with this curiosity. The genius's thinking is curiosity. What happens in case of Einstein? What happens? What would we see if human travels faster than speed of the light? Something like that. But at this time, it has to be 5 sense related. Something not visible, something that you can taste, something that you can really see, something like a magic. Yes, you can say it, but that's novel or the fiction or some of the movie stories. In reality, it doesn't happen. Of course, in the novels and the fictions and all these movies and these kind of things, if you make logical connections, then it'll make a great story, just like a Harry Potter or something like that. But if a story has a lack of the connections, then that will fall into something like people will say, what kind of crap is it, or something like that, right? So, but here, to study in my education, that if you are about to follow, if you are decided to, then before going into some imaginary the processes, you have to start thinking based on 5 senses that you can detect, you can see something like a falling object. That's the gravity. That's the one that you can start with. Okay. So in this level of the study, curiosity is the one of the main goal. You just develop curiosity over and over and actively make up the questions. Geniuses were able to do with 1 or 2 concepts connected and then created new concepts of 1 or 2. But in this case, you will develop more and more. Basically, you are surpassing the geniuses level. So here, getting ready to think like geniuses, but level 2, you have to suppress the geniuses level so that your brain can really actively work. Once you develop the project and you learn how to deal with based on 5 senses, that's the experiment, observation, and something, what is a comparison? For example, like this apple, that apple, how do you compare weight or something like that? So totally based on 5 senses that you started learning how to develop the project, how to approach, solve, resolve to get the answers. Okay, methodology and how to summarize it or something like that. Once you are done with this, now as I just brought up the example of Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein was the relativity theory is one of the hardest one for general people can actually bring up. The reason is because speed of the light is not visible. As soon as you turn on the light, you can see object right there, right at the moment. So you cannot really imagine how the speed the light is traveling. And for now, in these days, all this space program provided what it looks like when there's a gravity is not there. It's floating everything. Water is floating. But if you are sitting on the earth and you never seen what it look like without gravity, you probably not be able to really imagine that what it look like, how the water would move in the space. That means you cannot picture from Earth saying that for the mountain, like something like a mountain, you have a higher place and lower place. This concept is coming from because there's a gravity in there. So gravity makes higher and lower in the physical way the places. So without gravity, let's say water is just floating anywhere and moving anywhere, that means there's no such a concept as high and low. Something like this. So this type of thinking skills requires something like Einstein, the genius. He's one of the, to me, like comparing with Newton and Steve Jobs, he is one level higher. These skills requires imagination, which I call it simulation. Simulation is one of the key factor at this training factor for level 3, because something that is not visible, you started picturing it, and then you started drawing inside of your brain and try to follow what would happen, simulating it. But that doesn't mean that you can think of anything like Peter Pan. If you think that the Peter Pan is the one that truly exists and fly, then you are not suitable for this education. In fact, there's some people who sees that other people don't see. Schizophrenia, yeah, something like that. You see someone that you don't, other people don't see. So, one of the best example, probably the movie that called Beautiful Mind. One of the Nobel Prize winner mathematicians. That story, that when the movie is based on the true story. That's what I understand. And the mathematicians that getting out of this schizophrenia, that seeing other people that other people don't see, was that simple. He realized that at one of the point he realized that one of the kid he's seeing, one of the child there's only one child. The child he has been seeing is not growing up after several years, stays in the same shape, same height, same physical characteristic. So he realized that she didn't grow. She or he, I don't know. Well, anyway, that little child didn't grow at all. And he realized that's not logical, and he realized that's not real. So even though he sees them in the real life, he learned how to avoid them, how to separate them, how to recognize that the unreal with the real, and he was able to really get back to the mathematics that he was working on, and then he developed some of the formula, concepts or something that led to the Nobel Prize. The same thing here. Think about in this way, if the mathematicians thought that just like what Peter Pan story, that child looked like Peter Pan, doesn't grow and doesn't age at all. Wow, beautiful. I wish I could like that. That means you are staying in that world forever. Okay. So here what I say is simulation based is it has to be reasonable. There is a term that calling that making reasonable connections and then thinking reasonable based on the reason. That is the law of causation. The law of causation. So basically, you follow the cause of it. It happens because of this. What happens if that happens in this way? What happens if you put the seed of the basil? What will grow? If you think that when you put the seed of the basil inside, when you spread the basil seed and then you see that the tomato grow up, that's not. Okay. So the law of causation is one of the big issues in here. So that's together with relativity. Relative relationship, well, that actually applies in here and here all together, from here all throughout here. And then law of causation, here second level is easier because everything is 5 sense kind of based. But third one is something you are started dealing with, something is not visible and you have to picture and visualize it. This is main requirement. Relativity and the law of causation is one of the main the focus on this one. After you could do this, like something like Einstein did, or some, and then if you are able to create something out of this, then you will be able to really make up a new theory, just like relativity theory, make up the new theory. From here, another next level is about law of causation. You are applying the law of causation for the existence. For example, if water doesn't exist, do I exist? If gravity doesn't exist, well, this is relatively easy. Then is high and low concept exist. If the earth doesn't exist, earth doesn't exist, would I be here? Something like that. So the law of causation applying to the existence, so that you find the relative relationship of the existence. If the sun doesn't exist, would Earth be here? Something like that. So this is a law of existence, is one of the steps to make your brain really think free of any kind of obstacles. You can picture without gravity inside of the Earth. You can picture anything and then simulate what happens inside. This is the part that you can actually use your imagination and make a logical connections. So if you adopt this and go all the way to the create some of the stories, then there will be one with a fun story. Anyway, so there are these 4 steps of thought process based education, and I'm gonna give you specific the methodology in each step. Now, wisdom building method. This also has 4 different levels. This requires this step, not complete steps, just at least you need to know how to do, and then at least you need to do some of the part so that you can build your skills. Now, so once you are done with some of these parts, students probably focus on only these parts for now, because and I can guarantee if you went through with these 4 levels, you will be the one that totally different from any other person in the world, and then you can make differences on your own. Okay, in terms of like working or studying or whatever it is, your logic will be very, very powerful. Wisdom building method is having 4 different levels, but it requires this thought process based education, not in like students, but in some point that as you are confident to do some of the stuff. The reason is because the first level is the law of causation, applying it, but topics are different from this thought process based education. The topic is like a happiness. What is happy? What is happiness? Where does it come from? What is anger? Where does it come from? What is beautiful? Why am I saying that when I look at the fireworks, oh, beautiful? Why do I think that it's beautiful? What is beautiful? Where does it come? Where's the love? I mean, what is the love? Why am I loving my girlfriend or my wife, my child, my parents? Why? What is love? Where does it come from? All these topics started with based on the causation. Where if I doesn't exist, will there be happiness or something like that? You make a relative the existence based on the existence, which is the topic from the methods here. Based on the existence, you started finding the where it comes from. Now you understand all these human that related emotions, or all these the sources that all the human activities. Once you are done with it, next level is self-observation. Self-observation. When you are angry, you started observe yourself to find, why am I being angry? Why am I happy? When you're walking down mostly what happens is when you're walking on the street and let's say there's a big hole and you sunk into it and you got hurt, then you say, damn, who put this thing in? Well, who didn't protect this? Who made this hole? Why am I have to fall into that and got hurt? And you started using foul languages sometimes, right? But think about this. When you're walking down the street, what are you looking at? Instead of looking at where you are going. Sometimes you're looking at show windows, clothings, or something that you wanted to have. Your eyes will all going that direction for something that you want. Right? Because of that, you falling into it and you are angry yourself. So at this point, you will observing it. Because of that, you start to see that the why you are doing it. Sometimes you feel shame. Sometimes you feel guilty or something like that. And if you cannot get out of this, then you cannot advance in the next level. But as you observe, as you understand why you are happy at the moment and what is the real source, the inside of you, so it's basically you are facing yourself. Once this level passed, then next level is, before now, but this is a greed. So basically, your greed makes your life suffering. You wanted to have something. If you cannot get, then you kind of hope to get one. Let's say you are the one that the traveler, and you wanted to travel many different places to learn many different things, or you are the one that traveling around to eat something new and taste something new, and then you say that place is really good, and then you have to go there and then eat some of the food, or you have to travel there and see that what people are talking about. Let's say, put it in this way. There are two different wants. One is greed. If you are looking at this, let's say if you enjoy traveling, but one of the time, let's just assume that you cannot travel. You cannot go eat some of the delicious food. If you're agitating and you are eager to go and you're kind of like upset and you cannot focus on what you're doing at the moment, that means the wants is based on the greed, and this will bring you down to your life into the slump. But there's a want. You wanted to travel. Okay, I want to travel to certain place this year, but somehow situation changes and you cannot go. Okay, I'm not gonna go, and if there's a next time, if I have chance, I'll go. Let's say you put it in that way. There's something different in here. Okay, I'm gonna give you the differences in the methodology that I'm talking about in the second level of the wisdom building method. But that want is not same as greed, so it's not bring you down to your life into the suffering. It actually brings you some other different ways. Okay, so there's two different types of the want, and at this point, you have to, if you're coming up to all the way up here, then you have to actually learn how to separate them, so that you train not from here, you train something different way. Now, once you are done with this is leader. Third level is being a leader. How to be leader. Now, being leader does not come easy. This one doesn't come easy either, but this one is the hardest. The reason is because, like this, human society is pyramid. Let's this triangle as a pyramid. And this is, some of them is based on the political power, some of them based on the economical power or knowledge. Some of them has more knowledge so that they have power. Each structure has different types of the pyramid, and there are people sitting in here. And these people, what do? They order, and they can accuse other people. They can make them to really push them. They can do whatever they could do. You can think of it as a king. They determine what has to be done. They can order what has to be done, and they can push you. They can decide that everything is depending on here. Each society has this, but this thought process, brain power, is the biggest of all. This means if they realize that you have a more brain power, they'll have to come ask you for wisdom, your wisdom. And there are many stories about that, right? Similar stories. The economical power, whatever it is, they'll have to come ask for the wisdom, you. But problem is, when you are showing them that you have more brain power, they won't let you. They won't let you surpass their level. What they will do? They will challenge you. They will yelling at you. They will try to push you down. Why? Because if you're going up, now you are under them. So in this level, being a leader, meaning that you are learning how to step up and step on these people, so that you can be on top of this entire, the brain power pyramid. Okay. So being a leader is not easy. You have to beat every single people. So this includes that let's say someone comes in and yelling at you, you yelling at them and sometimes make them not to come closer. If they are ordering you, you just make them that they are not the one to order you. And you have to make them suppress them. You have to so from this level you learn how to make them to obey to you, so that you can move up. Anybody, whoever comes in. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to sit in here. But the price is that being alone, just let's think about it as a king of an entire society, means that you determine everything. You decide everything by yourself. And you determine where to go. Every single the decisions and everything is only depending on you. So there will be only you in entire world. You are alone. If you think that you cannot be alone, then you are not going to be able to come all the way up here. This is a most biggest challenge in this this study. Once you are done, then you show them that you are different. Your brain is on top of the entire human nature. Then now what they will do? They will come and ask for wisdom, method, to be free out of their suffering life, or to learn how to develop their brain, whatever it is. Then now what you need to do? Level 4 is method to teach. Okay. So once this level of the study, how to teach and how to approach others and doing this, and then how to, sometimes some of them, just like some of the people probably don't realize that what you're having, and they will bark like dogs. You will learn how to make them quiet, and you will teach them the way that you will try to teach, to see that if they are the one having a little bit of brain side, that they can learn or something like that. So you learn how to training these people, just like you are training dogs. But in generally, I'm talking about the dogs because mostly people, when they are talking, they are not logically, their logic is broken. what they do is when they learn this is gravity, they'll just say gravity. If you ask why what force is actually bringing them down, they'll go, I don't know. That means they're like dogs barking, because monkeys, dogs, they all have signals, and their signals meaning the specific. The signals pointing specific phenomenon or objects. Dogs and monkeys could do, and human seeing and saying that this is gravity. This means that they're just like dogs and monkeys. You should be different. You should be able to describe it and questions it and provide answers. That's what interior DH education is about. So I'm gonna start giving with the background from next time, and then go level by level training methods so that you can follow. Now, if you are a student, this part is most suitable, and the first 1 or 2 level study, even those two, in this one, is will give you very, very different brain power. Okay, if you could go through like a 3 and 4, you'll be surpassing the geniuses. It will show that your brain works very, very different way, and a very logical and those kind of things. But still, without this part, you're not going to be able to really teach. You can teach knowledge, but you cannot teach how people can go through and be like you, in free of the suffering life and free of freedom of life from interior world. Okay, you can talk to the president without any fear, and you will see president will be under you, and you are basically king of interior world in terms of brain. Okay, so this is an introduction, overview of what I'm gonna do from now. And as I said, it's not free, based on voluntary payment. Okay, so if you are, as you go through, and then as you're learning some of the methodology, and then as you're learning something from here, then you can voluntarily pay through the link, which is not there yet, but will be there. Okay, I'll see you next time.